Hey, welcome back to Enigmatica 2, where in the last video, we set up this matter fabricator and replica to be able to make a lot of litherite crystals. I did not have this much when I left off last time, because I have left this for quite a while. I think you can tell how long, based on how much has accrued in the time in the bottle. Although, most of that was on the setup that I had at the end of the video. However, I got plenty of comments telling me to add a recycler with scrap to make this run a lot quicker. This is now running at, I think, about half of the speed of just inputting as much power as I could, but I'm throttling it with an advanced cable, so it's draining far less power. So this is very good. I could probably put more power into it, but my generators aren't reliable enough to be able to manage that. So this is pretty much the best it's going to be, and it worked. I just left it overnight twice, and I've got a stack and a half of litherite. Also, since last time, I've left the new and improved farm running the entire time, and now I've got a full drawer of delighted meals. It only took about an hour, but I left it for a whole 30 more. And also, I got some answers about the laser drill. And a lot of people were telling me to use lenses, which, yeah, lenses will definitely help, but to my knowledge, lenses don't make it possible to mine something. They only make it more likely. I just wasn't getting any. But I got some advice telling me to change the drill depth, which is completely separate to where the laser actually is, Y level wise. And so I set it to 6, within the range of platinum, and look at that, I've started getting platinum ore. So that's what I was missing, and it's fixed. I can now get platinum. I might just need to put some lenses in it, because 6 after probably about 20 hours or so is not great. But that might change soon, because obviously I've been producing all of this litherite crystals for a reason, to start environmental tech. And I'm still not entirely sure where to go first here, because the crux of environmental tech is the 2 void miners, but they both need a lot of power. So then I'm likely going to need a solar array, but litherite is still annoying to get. And I can either improve my power to then shove more into the matter fabricator to get litherite quicker, or I can just make a void miner, which is more effective at mining the crystals, and I'll also get iridium. I don't think it would get me litherite as fast as upgrading my power, but iridium is the difficult thing right now, and I think that's what pushed me over the line. They're both about the same price litherite-wise, but the void miner can get me iridium as well. So I guess that's the plan. I'm going to set up a void miner. So how expensive is this gonna be? I obviously need the controller, and then the multi-block itself needs structure frame, structure panels, and the laser bits. And I wonder... No, there isn't a crystal lens. Okay, because that's normally the lens I run basically 24/7, because that can get the litherite and iridium much quicker. I guess I just prefer the colored lenses? Sure. I think I might still stick with clear so I can get litherite and iridium. If I keep the matter fabricator running, it should still be able to get litherite relatively quickly. So fine, I'll do magenta. So then, that's all the stuff. Let's see about making it. And none of this is terribly difficult, but I think I'm still going to make recipes for most of it, because I'm going to need to make a lot of it. So structure panels are mostly limited by connectors. Whoa, which are actually quite a lot more expensive than I thought they were. Okay. Aluminium brass I can make in the induction smelter, so that's not a problem here. But the signalum... it's much easier in the alloy smelter. I was worried about having to put the melter in there. Okay, that's not that bad. Alright, then that should be everything for the structure panel then. For the structure frame, I need an interconnect. That's a lot of connectors and black concrete. And black concrete is a little annoying to automate, but it's really not bad to make it myself. So I think I'm going to leave that be. Laser cores, I should have all of that. And then the controllers, I only need to make one, so I don't think I'll bother making a recipe for it. Okay then, so let's see, I need 24 structure frames. I've got all of that except for the black concrete. I can get that pretty quickly, so I can make those structure frames. Then 20 structure panels. I'm just missing redstone. I can steal a bit from here. So there's that. Then 2 laser cores and a laser lens should then get me everything I need for the multi-block. So then I just need that control block, which shouldn't be that bad. I've got plenty of litherite to make the blocks. I can get a diamond block. I can get 2 interconnects. And I can get an extra laser lens. So then it's just the diode. Okay. That's not too bad. I have a spare machine frame, that makes things easier. I can get the skystone pretty easily. I've got plenty of mana infused ore, so that's no problem. Then the only 2 actually difficult things here being the iridium reinforced plate, which isn't actually that bad. I need some advanced alloy. I need to grab some of my iridium. Then that's not so bad. And then the empowered void crystal. I've already done that before, so that's not very hard either. So there we go. That should be all I need to make a void miner. Right. I just need to dye this lens magenta, and then it's time to figure out where I put this. Because I'm not putting it in this building. This building is full enough. I think it might be time to make another building. But where? Maybe here, so I can have another long building. But then what's the design for this building? Because it's going to be the building that houses most of the endgame tech. So do I make it sort of futuristic-y? Do I show off the void miners? Or do I just keep them underground? I don't know. I've got a bit of an interesting idea. What if I place the void miners almost like stilts to hold up the building? Because eventually I'm going to get the resource miner. I guess it'll just be a bit of a blank space for a bit. That could work. Then what's the rest of the design for the building? I should think of some blocks to build it out of. I guess if I'm going into the highest tier tech, I sort of associate those fluorescent blues with high-tech stuff. So maybe I could go for something like that. Then what's a good blue? Ooh, cobalt blocks looks very nice. It's extremely expensive, but it's got some good designs. So maybe I could use that as some kind of an accenting block. There's obviously all the kinds of concrete. There's the blue factory blocks. Those could work, and factory blocks are very cheap. There's the Futura block, but I find these to be a bit much most of the time. Except for maybe the cyan screen. I think I just need to get my hands on some of these. Make some factory blocks. I can't really afford cobalt. I can try some of the Futura blocks. And is there an interesting glass I could use? I guess just stained clear glass. Clear glass is a little annoying to get, so I'll just leave it to cast out for a while I work on other things. So I've got a selection here of some blocks to try. How do some of these work? The blue wireframe's interesting. I'm not too sure if I like that interior pattern, but maybe in small amounts it could be useful, similar to how I've used these encased bricks. The blue framed circuit is the same, it's way too dark on the inside. I think this one's just a no. I don't want something black, I want something blue. The blue circuits look pretty good. I don't think I've got much to say about them. It's reasonably solid. Ooh, the Futura blocks connect weirdly. What's the cyan one look like? The same. In a line, it's fine. But I don't like that screen. What about this ice, ice, ice? I guess if I'm tiling it in large quantities, it's a little better than the blue wireframe. So sure, I can hang on to that. I don't think there's any salvaging the Futura blocks. But I feel like I still want one more thing here. Maybe I can supplement with some light blue. Probably alabaster so I get access to stairs, slabs, and walls. Yeah, and it doesn't need to be chiselable. It seems fine just on its own. Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm probably going to build it around here. Going to need to move the rubber trees out of the way. And I'm going to have some terraforming to do as well. But I can make myself a reasonable space here. I'm still really unsure on a design here, though. I think I'm just going to start building and see what happens. Which isn't usually a good idea, but I don't have much other choice. Okay, so this is sort of the size of the building. It doesn't look that big when I lay it down, but it is pretty much the same size as this one. But I think I'm going to pivot my idea from stilts to more like... The only thing I can think of is a shop front window. But I think it'll look pretty cool. I'm just going to need that glass. And I'm going to dye it purple because why not? So then, how big is a tier 1 void miner? 4 blocks? 7 by 7 by 4. Okay. I think I can surround these windows a little bit differently. I guess something like that. May as well assemble the rest of this. Yeah, that looks like it shows it off reasonably well. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. It's going to be empty for a while, but just for the sake of finishing the building. It doesn't leave that much of a doorway in the middle, though. And then as these void miners get bigger, they're probably going to come closer into the center. Probably take up all of this space. Or effectively all of it, enough that I can't put anything else in. So then I've got a bit of an idea. Yeah. I was going to do a staircase, but these lighting errors, that looks very bad. Yeah, and continuing on doesn't make it look any better. So, alternate idea, I could make something like this to have an elevator take me up. That could work. Then I can basically just work out of this second floor, would it be? Or would this, because this is eventually going to be dug further down to fit the void miners, would this then count as a basement? I don't know. I'm just going to say ground floor, first floor. That works. Well then, I feel like because of this, I've just kind of decided blue circuits is going to be the ground block. What do I make the rest of this out of? Do I just make this entire bottom bit glass? I think I might. Yeah. I've already melted up a bunch more glass, but it takes a very long time to go through. I guess if I'm making all of this floor just for the 2 void miners, I may as well move this one into the center. Oh, but wait, I can't mine these. That's why I've got mining bolt. Now that I think about it, this might need to shift inwards a little bit as it gets bigger, but for now I can leave it here. Right, so I'm gonna say that's the ground floor done for the time being. Now to move on to this floor. And I think I want to include some windows, but I'm not entirely sure how. Probably not big windows. I'm thinking this sized window is probably good. Do I do 4 of them? 2 on the long walls and leave the edge walls blank? Maybe. And I can turn these into glass panes, but do I want to? Yeah, I'm gonna need that added depth. Because if I see, it looks weird, but it still looks pretty flat. And actually, looking at this, I don't think I like this factory block. I want to use something different. Something with a more obvious texture. I've got a weird idea here. No. Maybe I don't go for something blue. I don't know how to feel about this anymore. I was going so well with this bottom bit, and I'm still reasonably happy about this. But I don't want to make just another big block. I haven't done myself many favors working with dark colors here. Do I lean into the light blue? I think I could. There's plenty of ways for me to chisel the alabaster, but at the same time I want more of a metallic feel to it. Oh, actually, how would prismarine work? I was hoping dark prismarine could be chiseled a bit more, but I still don't think this is what I'm looking for. Copper would be a similar green. The only green thing here is copper slab for whatever reason. Again, it looks like cobalt is kind of what I want here, but cobalt is just so expensive. Maybe I just do the alabaster and I accept that it's gonna look like stone. Although there are some patterns that look vaguely metallic, and it doesn't look terribly out of place. Fine. I guess I can also work in some of the factory blocks. Okay. I think I'm reasonably happy with this. At least from the inside. 'Cause from the outside, it looks interesting, to say the least. Would that change if I put the glass in? Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe I can do an interesting roof, and that'll make this feel different. Because, for example, the industry building over there, it's all just the one texture, but it's an interesting roof, and it makes it look better. So maybe I can do the same here. I don't have to worry about textures and palettes as much if I just give it a good shape. Yeah. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm starting to run out of building ideas, and it's still a workable space. Right, well, I've spent far too long building this. I just need to set up this void miner. I'm not going to set up a processing yet, because that's going to be fairly involved. I'm just going to have the items come up here into this storage crate. Then, I was just going to connect this straight into power, but then this is going to drain all of my power. So, I'm going to throttle it a bit. I'm going to put an elite energy cube there with some low tier conduits coming out of it. So, that's putting power into the miner, but the miner's not doing anything yet because it needs that hole to bedrock. So, I guess I gotta get digging. Ah, there we go. I made it down to bedrock. Is it gonna make the laser? I don't know. Oh, that's why it's not making the laser. I destroyed some structure panels. There we go. So it should be mining. And this apparently drains 4,000 FE per tick. That's the max transfer of these conduits. So then I probably could have just connected it to the main conduits and been fine. But I like having that intermediary bit anyway. I did it for the laser drill, so I'm going to do it here. But the tier 1 miner is extremely slow. I probably should have set it up before I built the house, so that it could be going while I was building. But hindsight's 2020. So then this should be running full capacity. I thought I was going to have to throttle it, but I guess not. It is going to be very slow. How long did it say? 400 ticks? So that's 20 seconds? It should have been 20 seconds. Maybe I just have to put it directly on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there's that. I'm tempted to switch it to litherite so that I can set up the solar panel faster. But maybe I'm better off just upgrading to a tier 2 miner, because I do need that speed. But I also need the power. I don't know. I should still be generating enough to keep up, but yeah, I think by tier 2 I'm going to need that solar array. So I'll keep this running to make litherite, and I should get some this way as well. So then maybe by next time I can get that solar array? I guess we'll see. But I think the last thing I'm going to do here is connect this building to the ME system, so I don't have to keep running over here to access my storage. There we go. That's the cable stretched all the way across. And now, I've got a terminal. Also, on a bit of a minor note, I've been using these treated wood fences on top of the posts, but I know the posts can have the bit that extends across. I just don't know how to do that, so I've been doing this instead. It doesn't look as good, but at a glance it's fine. But I want to know how to do that extra bit. Anyway, ooh, in that time I've gotten a decent amount of things. I got 3 litherite crystals in 10 minutes, as opposed to 12 in close to 3 hours. Yeah, the void miner is a lot better. So then I'm just gonna leave this running probably overnight a couple times, just to get a load of stuff here. Maybe enough to upgrade the void miner, maybe get the solar panels. I don't know. But anyway, I think that's all I'm gonna do for this video. As far as progression, it wasn't that much, just making the void miner, but building this whole thing took a decent amount of time, especially considering how much I had to tear it down and rebuild it. And I'm reasonably happy with the finished result here. I might add a couple more floors, depending on how much I've got to try and fit in here, but I don't see myself needing more than maybe one more. And hopefully next time we can get some more environmental tech stuff going. Maybe upgrade the void miner, maybe get the resource miner, maybe get the solar panels. Who knows? It all just depends on how many crystals I get out of this. But I think I'm reasonably happy with this progress, and I don't think I have anything else to say. So I'm going to call the video here. Bye.